Travis Wayne Goodsell. I need to be taking a nap. But we got the pregame show to do, so we'll try to make it as quick as possible. I just uploaded the video in the prerequisite playlist about the national security threat of the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints, showing you the original documentation, the primary source documents, with some supporting documents on top of it, or conference talks, to give you context of the conference talks that they've given. I saw too late that the Heber C. Kimball attest did not fit on the screen properly, but I redid it. We'll try to remember to put it in this video for you. There is no way the church is true, righteous, good, legitimate, etc., let alone a religion. It is sad that Mormons live in little Kool-Aid land, becoming weapons for this criminal operation that is seeking to overthrow the government. It is just sad and pathetic that they want to be white supremacist Christian nationalist enemies of the people. They have no desire to be good. They have no desire to do good. They are just full of hate, with a facade of happiness and righteousness. And if by chance you are coming to my channel for the first time and you've been unaware of all of this, that you've been drinking the Kool-Aid and you're just naive and illiterate, that you couldn't read that we're Jewish, not Christian, that Christianity is all wrong, abominable, and corrupt. Get out. Get out now. Don't sit there in a stupor on your throne. Old priesthood meeting joke. Because the throne is the toilet seat. But to sum up the summation of the video, Thomas B. Marsh exposed that the Danites were going to overthrow the government of the United States of America and go on to the rest of the world. That this has been a 200-year-old plot. And then Joseph Fielding Smith Sr. wrote that it's now encoded as Jesus. That these Danites framed and blamed Joseph, turned the Book of Mormon and Joseph Smith Christian as a coded plot to overthrow the government. No longer the learning of the Jews, warning about the threat, which the Book of Mormon was brilliantly written that way, knowing that the enemy would know about Joseph Smith's church, infiltrate it, and have Joseph murdered, and then steal it and turn it Christian, to profit off of it and use it as a cover for their criminal operation to plan and prepare for 200 years in the future. And so, in his way to perfection, about the gathering at Adam-on-Diamond, which is the secret code word for coup the government of the United States of America, he says that at that time there will be a transfer of authority from the usurper and impostor Lucifer to the rightful king, Jesus Christ. Jesus will then assume the reins of government. Directions will be given to the priesthood. So there's a couple of ways to interpret this, having been fulfilled now. One, that the church expects Trump to hand over the government to the church, such that tonight Trump is going to hand it over. Nelson will be in attendance. He'll be brought in on a hospital bed. Maybe Oakes will stand in for him. Or maybe Irene will stand in for Oakes, since Oakes has tardive dyskinesia. And Trump will call him up to the stand, and in the presence of all the government across the whole world, will hand it over with a signed executive order as the deep state Dems gasp in horror, as MAGA are like, who's the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints? Was that Mitt Romney? The ones with the underwear? I heard they were a cult group. If you're going to take this literally, that would be one way. The other way is that the Danites, being violent, referring to Jesus' second coming as a nuclear explosion, that this gathering of the full federal government tonight will be a bombing attack of terrorism. Now, it has the basis because the church has been paying terrorism, not just Islamic terrorism. And so, yes, people are upset with Trump. Trump Gaza, you say? We voted for you because we didn't like Harris. And now you're taking our land? And remember, the Islamic community around the world gathered in conclave right before this, as Bednar went to Abu Dhabi, the UAE, the capital, and was doing business deals to launder money to pay off terrorism. The terrorist threats by Islamic State in America, paid for through aid to terrorists, Islamic State, through other Islamists, the Princess of Saudi Arabia and the guy of 50 billion Islamists and the others that they've been meeting with. Yeah, we're full on supporting terrorism, funding it. In case you hadn't caught on, living in your own little bubble, waiting for Jesus to appear. The third option that I can think of is that Trump is Jesus. Now, this is the evangelical version. Trump is Jesus. Not literally Jesus, but Jesus is working through an imperfect being, to say the least, called Trump, to do the will of Jesus for the kingdom come of evangelicals in America. And you might be confused because the Church of Jesus Christ and of Latter-day Saints and evangelicals seem to share a lot of the same standards and values and for strengths of youths. It's almost an exact match. All except for the nature and character of Jesus. Mormon Jesus is non-Trinitarian, which means he's supposed to physically appear, whereas Christian and evangelical Trinity Jesus is not real. The first creed of Christianity, 1700 years ago this year, said so. Musion means not real, because Constantine made it all up. Just took Greek letters together, combined them together, bibbity bobbity boo, not real. And so thus Trinity is the word used to explain it. Or consubstantial, as is used in Wikipedia. Without substance. Not real. And so thus the spiritual witness feelings of Christianity, hey, an exact pattern match for the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints. And God working through mortals. Because we're all sinners, we all fall short of the glory of God, and therefore by His grace we are saved without works. Different than Mormons. And so Jesus, by doing the will, or Trump, by doing the will of Jesus, is righteous. Everything he does is righteous. And so why are so many evangelicals and MAGA now disappointed and upset and frustrated and going, what are you doing? This is not what we wanted you to do. Just go after the deep state, not us. He has to. There's going to be collateral damage, guys. You're sacrificing for MAGA. But I don't want to sacrifice for MAGA. Nobody likes the consequences. Everybody loves the idea, but don't want the consequences. Nobody wants the consequences. You know, movies I watched, like yesterday. Management and Mean Girls. It's all about doing things, not wanting the consequences, but the consequences come, and then they're all upset. We didn't want these consequences. You shouldn't have done it. And so, yeah, Trump is the representative of Jesus. But because Mormons believe that Jesus is physically real, Trump is Jesus, literally. That's what they've been taunting and teasing you with all these decades, specifically under Nelson. In the coming day, in the coming days, in the coming day, in the coming days, in the coming day. Church news for tonight said if you go over one talk per day, you'll make it just in time for conference in April. So yeah, hoax. or now Oak, but everybody came to that video, man. Nobody came to the Nelson video. And then a month later, everybody found out that Nelson said what I did the reporting on. Still never came to the video. But yeah, in the coming day, Jesus, he's coming. And over a week went by and he didn't show. And then Oaks came out for the Christmas devotional and said, every day we're one day closer. Because Nelson said so. And then Oaks, the day after New Year's, with the Islamic State terror attack, came out and said, okay, look forward to Easter now, when you will be resurrected from the dead. Because you got to understand, if you don't know Mormonism, the resurrection is different for Mormonism. And so when Oaks came out with his 2-month-old early Easter first presidency message in video form this year, he's making it very clear. We believe in a literal bodily resurrection. And so with this death threat of Oaks, even in that clip I used in the video, yeah, the concept is Jesus destroys everything on earth. But if you're righteous in the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints, being a full tithe payer, you will be resurrected at his second coming instead of lying in ash heaps on the earth. So that you can be resurrected to celestial glory with 10 child bride virgins instead of 72 that Islamists get. Kind of makes a Mormon want to be Islamist rather than Mormon if we get 72 child bride virgins instead of just 10. Because you got to be a leader to get more than 10. Dumbasses who are fighting over polygamy. God, I have that video and I don't want to do it. Mormons and ex-Mormons are fighting over the stupidest of things. We've got a national security threat on our hands. Mormon lives are all in danger. Ex-Mormon lives are all in danger. And you're arguing about whether or not Joseph used a rock and a hat, whether Joseph was a polygamist or not, whether... Come on, guys, keep your eye on the ball. You're not paying attention to the bigger picture. And yet everybody goes to those videos because they don't want to live in reality. And so, yeah, it will be interesting. I mean, obviously, if none of these happen, Trump will say, I am king again. I order things to be done. Congress, you're not obeying me. Judges, you're not obeying me. Get it done. I gave an executive order. Do it. But there's the whole thing. Pam Bondi, Kash Patel now, Tom Hartman, Trump, none of them are going after Utah. Which leads to assume that the options are limited to those in which the church is ordering Trump to do what he's doing. Because Jesus coming for real is not an option. Duh. And so, yeah, I don't know. I mean, it would be utterly devastating for America to lose its federal government all in one night with a bombing attack, especially if it was nuclear. For a nuclear strike on American soil that takes out our full federal government. That would be crushing to American morale, to say the least. World War III would begin immediately. Trump, Xi, Kim, Mohammed bin Salman, Islam, all would instantly, after cheering, throwing a party and a celebration, Islam getting a group of child brides brought in, left behind by the parents who died in the Holy War. Hey kids, come to the party. Jeffrey Epstein ain't got nothing on Islam. Just utterly dehumanizing. But in these situations, none of them will save Mormons. None of them will cause Mormons to realize, oh, Joseph Smith and the Book of Mormon were Jewish. Hey, if I use a Jewish interpretation, I see things a lot differently. Oh, wait, Joseph Smith was our founding Christ? Yeah, Mormons ain't gonna do that. Not with these scenarios. Because then Mormons would realize that they're looking for a Mormon who would be their latter-day Christ. The man like Moses, the one mighty and strong, Messiah ben David, Emmanuel. Any of these ringing any bells? Obviously, those who have been following know what I'm talking about. But yeah, it's exceedingly frustrating for me. This has been very long. I had Paul email me wanting my understanding of a brand new Bible that came out. And it reminded me of how I was wanting, before the latter days began, to make a corrected translation of the Bible with a column of Paleo-Hebrew and a column of the translation from the Paleo-Hebrew. And I put that on hold. A lot of other projects, going over Egyptian translations and other stuff with Egyptian, making the full sign list, and grammar, and translations for Paleo-Hebrew, for Egyptian, for other languages of the ancient world. All of that on hold. Making board games, on hold. Even playing Civilization 3 and my Cleopatra pyramid building game that I can only use on one computer now. On hold. All to try to save as many Mormons as would listen to me. Spending all my time with all the files that are out of order. Just a jumbled mess. is now a project in and of itself. When all this is said and done, and I can sit down and do similar to what I'm doing with the latter day years for you, doing the calendar and going over what happened each year of the latter days. I've already gotten 2014 and 2015, and it's in the playlist for you. But yeah, making a record of the history of the people, making a record of the latter days, making a record of Mormonism. You know, these YouTube videos, they're not professional, like the document video I just did. It's me talking to you, trying to convince you to just study, read your scriptures, and you won't do it. We got too many Mormons who are just looky-loos, who are curious of what I'm saying because they've never heard it before. Jewish? Nobody talks about us as Jewish. This is weird. It's obviously wrong. Let's see if I can find anything in it to be hilarious and make fun of him. But yeah, nobody gets it. You're all fighting over the branches that are differently interpreted. You got to go to the core seed of the religious interpretation. Mormon Christianity seed is what you're supposed to be going after, and it's automatically wrong because it's not Jewish. So it doesn't matter what branches people argue about. You're not focused that this church is the enemy, that they are getting their kingdom back in Utah and the West. And how it's going to be done, we have to wait and find out. We know their plot, we have their playbook. The Book of Mormon, their own statements, and to those whom they threatened. We know what they're planning on doing. It's just the specifics of how it's going to get there we're waiting for. Because Oaks in 2020 switched it up. He said 2020 is now going to be a test run. And so if it's a test run and they succeed, then it's it. But because it didn't produce the desired results, though it was very close, here we are, 2024 and 2025. The church is the enemy. They're the puppet masters. They are following the orders of Trump, or they are giving orders to Trump. And that's why Trump and his team will not come after Utah with over 600,000 on Trump's hit list. He only does the federal government fall. And that's one thing to pay attention to, is that Congress had an opportunity to shut down the federal government last year by failing to pass the budget, cause a government shutdown, which would have made Trump's job easier once he took office. So once he took office, immediately he starts shutting down the government, firing people, doing away with certain programs, thus no longer needing the people to run the programs. And now judges are stepping in saying, no, you can't do that, you need to slow down. Okay, you can do it for USAID, but not for others. As Musk is now replacing his companies with the federal agencies. The federal government is literally being destroyed, just as we were warned with their threat. And so in that particular case, it seems like Trump is Jesus. But if Trump is going to be the King of Kings, Lord of Lords, the great high priest over the United States of 52 or 3 now, I think it's going to be 53 states. Canada, Greenland, Gaza, maybe Panama, so that'd be 54. And I guess if the Gulf of Mexico is now the Gulf of America, that means all the islands are also states in the Union too. So Puerto Rico, you're now a state in the Union. Not a territory. Other territories are now states. Is it just one state, or are each island a separate state? We'll need to ask him about that. Maybe he'll answer that tonight. But with the judges denying him, we've got the 14th coming up. When again, an opportunity for Congress to shut down the federal government for Trump. But as Trump wants to continue the momentum, I'm assuming, with his inauguration, he was going to do something just like that for tonight. I wouldn't be surprised at all if he gives executive orders tonight. He's on the national world stage. He's going to give executive orders. You know, the tariffs already midnight tonight. And so the stock market crashed. Again, 2 days in a row. What did I tell you? Watch the stock market. The church is in charge of the stock market. They're the major stockholders. The church is pulling out their money right before the tariffs, right before Trump talks tonight. Something is up tonight. Blatantly obvious. But put the church in the equation. Do not leave them out. And so, the Book of Mormon, to finish it all up here, warns us that they were supposed to do it in 2020 and 2021. That didn't happen. It was just a test run. So apparently Mitt Romney was supposed to be assassinated. They're supposed to destroy the federal government. 3 Nephi chapter 7. And as a result, the United States are going to be divided. Every state will separate from the others. And this is how the church is planning on getting their kingdom back. With the federal government gone, and every state for themselves now, the church gets their kingdom back. And Cox, Nelson, Oaks, whoever, all they have to do is go and meet with them and say, hand it over. He's Mormon. He has no choice but to hand it over. And instantly, Utah becomes Deseret 2.0. And so, I've been trying to warn Exfo Nevermos, who are arguing about the branches of tithing as to whether or not it being a donation is good or bad. Taking your eye off the ball, that it is a criminal law, violating the Book of Mormon, violating Joseph Smith's and his economy. But it says it's by Joseph. They know about Mark Hoffman, and yet those who do not pay tithing in Zion. You're out. You are not worthy to abide among the people of Zion. It shall not be a land of Zion for you. 5 and 6. You never bothered to read it? This is the law, and it is not a donation. Joseph Smith's law in section 42, yeah, donation. You have to give a donation, but it is not forced. You don't lose membership. You become lazy and probably will get excommunicated for being lazy and mooching off of the system. But it's not complicated to follow. You're not prostituting your wives over it like you are with this one. I did the video the other day. Find the video. Too many projects to do. This is what they're doing. They're a sanctuary city now, sanctuary state, but once they get their kingdom, all of a sudden everything's going to change. And now all the homeless are gone. They're not paying tithing. They are not worthy to live in Zion. The poor. Those who are on federal benefits. Gone. There is no federal government. You're not getting federal benefits anymore. Gone. You're not paying tithing. Church is not a welfare state. If you are capable of working and you beg on hand and knee, begging and pleading to be left in Zion, they'll put you to work as a slave and then deduct the money from your paycheck so that you'll have at least a hut to live in and a bread loaf and I don't know about water. Good luck with that. And so, yeah, no wives for the regular Mormon. They all belong to the harems of the leaders. They're the ones who are worthy. You're not. You have to be a slave. And if you work real hard, maybe one day you might become a leader. And then you can get an extra wife. Get a wife. Because one of the branches that people are arguing about is the new change for children in the church. Finally telling children that Joseph Smith went to Emma and said, "You need to let me have 10 child bride virgins." You catch that? Children are now being told by the church that Joseph Smith went to his wife Emma and said, "Emma, the Lord wants me to have 10 child bride virgins. If you don't let me have them, you're going to be destroyed." That's what the church is now teaching children. And none of you believe me. When Nelson lowered the age to 11. When Oakes, talking about the new change to the law of chastity for polygamy, said trust in the Lord is the code word for polygamy. And so I was 21 or 22 when the primary designated that year as Trust in the Lord year for children. I catch on to this because I'm using the correct interpretation. I'm catching on to this because I've done the research. I've just shown you in the video the national security threat of this church. This is real. And Mormons don't get it. So, I'll have to wait and see what happens tonight. Most likely, Trump will just do executive orders and spout off how great he's doing and threaten the deep state Dems and leave Utah alone. But church wants their kingdom back. So pay attention. Trump ain't just going to give it to them.